Hey guys, so this morning I was on a call with one of my clients and we were talking about TED Talks and whether she should be thinking about doing a TED Talk and how we'd coach her to get to that point. And she mentioned the three that I'd done. I've done 3 TED Talks now, TEDx Talks. And she said, you know which one of yours was my favourite? And I said, no, which one? She said, the one where you came out. And I thought that's interesting. She's talking about the most recent TEDx talk I did that you can find on YouTube called A Dangerous Rainbow. And I found it fascinating that she thought I'd come out in that particular talk. In that talk, I'd been asked to go and speak there about equality, about some of the confusion, some of the lack of understanding over LGBTQIA issues today, about why homophobia was still a thing, whether it was. But as far as I'm concerned, I hadn't come out in that video. I haven't been in any kind of closet since the 90s. So I've got my pride flag scarf on today. So just in case anyone is in any doubt, in true Ellen style, I'm gay, she says into the microphone. So why is it important today? Why are Pride Months still needed? Why is there any issue at all? Well, I think they're still needed, not because we all want some massive party, which is what so many people think they're all about, but because there are still so many people who are unable to come out, who are unable to be themselves, who are living in fear, who are closeted. There are still far too many people being attacked, being raped, being beaten, being murdered, being killed because of their natural desire to be with somebody of the same gender. And that's without even going into some of the trans issues and the non-binary issues. But for me, as a gay woman, I can say hand on heart that I wish I'd had someone in my corner during my formative years who'd allowed me to believe that it was okay. You know, my family loves me dearly. I love my family dearly. But certainly when I was growing up, way back then, there was a feeling of being gay, being lesbian, being bi. It just wasn't a thing. You don't talk about it. People like that existed, but we don't talk about them. It's a perversion. It's wrong. Blah, 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 blah. And so many people, particularly those who are in more of a religious household, whatever that organized religion happens to be. Again, broad brush there. I know that's not the same for everyone, but there will still be a lot of people today who are afraid to be themselves, who end up trying to marry their way into being heterosexual or stay in hetero relationships to try and keep themselves straight. I know in hindsight, I had a bit of that going on. There will be people who are still wondering whether they can get converted. You know, it's not that many years ago. My wife Asha has just written a beautiful timeline piece she'll be putting out there soon. And it's not that long ago that one of the national newspapers was running headlines about there being a gay gene and the potential that women could choose to abort if their kid was going to be gay. So we don't have to go far back into the annals of history, the annals of time, to discover really awful information out there that still portrayed being anywhere on that rainbow spectrum as being wrong or broken in some way. So I think Pride events are still really, really important, so long as we remember what they're for. They're not just to be a massive piss up and a party. For me, Pride events exist to push for equality, and it's just as important to have straight allies along to those events as well. All the time, there are people in the world who are still living in fear of being true to themselves, in fear of coming out. All the time, there are people in the world who are being treated in any way less than beautifully, kindly, fairly, compassionately because of who they are naturally predisposed to, feel attracted to love. Then we need to be raising awareness. We need to not be hiding the fact that homophobic bullying does still take place. We need to not be pretending that everything is fine. By the same token, we don't need to be pushing it the other way and trying to turn it into a bigger issue than it is. But it is an issue. There are still parts of the world where my wife and I have to think very, very carefully about taking a trip there. There are parts of the world we will not go to because it will not be safe. Whenever we are booking a holiday, if we're or going on a business trip somewhere, we have to stop and think, is it safe to book a double room here? You know, these things still happen. We have to still be careful. We don't have to. We choose to still be careful today about PDAs, public displays of affection. Now, neither of us are the kind of women who would want to go and snog in public anyway, but even holding hands. You know, if any of you have seen that TED Talk, the Dangerous Rainbow TED Talk, or read any of my content around this, there are articles on LinkedIn and on Medium, and there's some social content on my social feeds too, you will know that only a few years back, we grasped each other's hand just for a couple of seconds in Peterborough, of all places, the middle of the country, Middle Earth, literally Middle England, and we were then followed around for goodness knows how long by people quoting scripture at us. Again, in Peterborough, I've been taken aside and backed up against the shop wall by somebody lecturing me on morality. Why? Because I don't generally go around wearing a rainbow flag or wearing a t-shirt that says nobody knows I'm a lesbian. But I guess when you've been with someone for as long as Asher and I have been together, we'll have been together for 25 years next year. It's nigh and impossible to hide the fact that we're together. We shouldn't need to, but people can just glance at our body language, at the way we look at each other, and assume that we are together. And, you know, particularly now I have short hair, how dare I? But I also wear makeup, that can confuse people. You know, all these stereotypes. We still do not hold hands in public unless we're at a very, very safe place and we're feeling really, really confident. Because even in places like Peterborough, we still get crap. We still get abuse. I've had, not too long ago, somebody tried to pull one of my coaching clients away from me and push her to someone else, because this particular client was going through some relationship issues with her male partner, heterosexual woman. And somebody recommended that she spoke to another coach, and this other coach approached her and said, I would not be able to help her with that because I'm gay. So because I'm in a relationship with a woman, I can't help somebody else with issues about a heterosexual relationship. I have still had people making all kinds of ridiculous comments once they know that I am gay, lesbian, queer, don't care what you want to call me. It's true. I don't take any of these things as slurs, as insults, because it's true. You know, calling me a dyke is no worse than saying to somebody who is heterosexual, you're het, you're straight. It's true. It's the intention behind the word that matters, not the word itself. So this is why it's important. You know, one of the stories I cite when people ask me about this is toward the end of my career in corporate, before I went self-employed, I had a lovely conversation with a really kind of level-headed, open-minded, big-hearted, accepting guy who was saying exactly that. Why do you still need pride events, Taz? Nobody cares, Taz. Everybody accepts that you and Asher are together and you're happy. Nobody cares. Why do you still need them? And I remember saying to him, so when you get married, if you have kids, if one of your kids comes to you and says, Dad, I think I might be gay, are you going to be okay with that? And he said, of course I won't be okay with that. But why if there's no issue? And he said, and I quote, well, it'll never really be normal, will it? It is normal. It happens all over the natural world, all over the natural kingdom. Being gay does not impact the ability of anyone to be a supportive, beautiful, contributive member of society in any way. And until people across the world are afforded that, it shouldn't be a luxury, but that luxury of being treated in exactly the same way as anyone else and not looked down upon because of their natural, innate sexuality, we need pride events and we need to keep talking about it. And let me just flip this the other way as well. I want to just make a point about anyone who is out of the closet or partially out or wondering whether to come out and not wanting to be a giant screaming flag waving queer, as some people say. Awful term, isn't it? I don't consider myself that either. I don't generally make a big song and dance about being gay. I just don't hide the fact that my wife, my soulmate, the love of my life, the woman who fills the space between my heartbeats happens to be the same gender as me. That can be enough. I was a few years back at a lesbian event, having been shortlisted as one of as on the Diva Power list. So a few years back now, since I've been on that. And one of the first questions one of the other guests asked me at that event was, so what's your area of activism then? You don't need to have an area of activism. Would you dream of asking somebody heterosexual just on the first meeting, what's your area of activism? My reply, I think, is I live in the Lincolnshire Flatlands and I don't hide. We don't all have to be activists. We can just be in society. Not hiding, being yourself is enough. Sometimes that's too hard. So I'm not going to tell everybody that you need to burst out of the closet in a shower of rainbow glitter. It has to be right for you. Nobody should be forced to come out of a closet. But by the same token, it shouldn't be big news when somebody comes out of a closet either. So please, 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 if you are questioning your sexuality, if you are anywhere on that rainbow spectrum, don't feel that you have to suddenly make that the pivotal point about your life. I'm Taz, I'm a coach, I'm an author, I'm a trainer, I'm a speaker trainer, I'm a wife, I'm an auntie, I'm a friend, I'm a cousin, I'm all these things. And somewhere in that, I'm also gay. In terms of the priority levels, in terms of the important things about who I am, it's in there somewhere, but it does not define who I am. It's part of who I am. So I think we need to remember that too. If you want to be an activist, fine, be an activist. If you don't, if you just want to be a normal member of society, going about your business, whatever normal is, going about your business as you would do normally, that's fine. You don't have to be an activist. You don't have to go to the pride marches. You don't have to have a rainbow scarf like the one I get out occasionally. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to be spearheading all the big equality campaigns. You don't have to touch that at all. But if you have the ability in your life to not hide, that will help people like me way back then, who was terrified, who thought that I was broken, who thought there was something wrong with me, who thought that I had a perversion. And I was told by loved ones that if I ever came out, if people ever knew that I was a lesbian, my career would be over. I'd lose friends. My life would be over. And let me tell you, people, it wasn't over. Coming out, being true to myself, that's where it all started. So it doesn't matter where you are on that spectrum between spearheading every equality and diversity campaign there is, or just getting on with your life but not hiding, or even those who do still feel the need to hide. That's why it's important for those of us who don't feel we need to hide to not do so. Because back then, if there'd been more people like me, if there'd been more people who were just going about their business and happening to be gay and not hide, that would have made it so much easier for me. And my hope is that the more of us who stand up, who just get on with our lives and happen to love someone of the same gender, or happen to be getting on with being non-binary or trans, wherever you are on that spectrum, the more of us who are open about that, the easier the pathway becomes for those a few generations behind us who just need somebody to show them that they're not alone. Happy Pride Month, everyone, wherever you are. Be you, always, and then be you a little bit more. That's where you really start to unleash your awesome. Lots of love. Thanks for watching.